Welcome. I'm Mark Duntley, Dean of Religious and Spiritual Life.
And I'm Maggie Burks. I am the Student Interfaith Coordinator. We'd like to welcome you this evening. On the Sunday before Thanksgiving, it's traditional for the Lewis and Clark Interfaith Council to host an interfaith gathering in Agnes Flanagan Chapel. With the events of the past days, those of us planning the annual event have chosen to change the theme to solidarity, and we have invited the whole community to attend. We are particularly glad to have President Barry Glassner, Dean Katie Kodat, and Dean of Students Anna Gonzalez with us here tonight. We are also grateful to Kathy Fitzgibbon and the Capella Nova Choir, and to Susan Smith for the music they will be providing.
This is an opportunity to join with fellow students, staff, and faculty to support one another and to be reminded of the strength we have when we join together across the lines of faith, race, gender, and class. There will be readings, music, candles, and we invite you to open your heart and mind to the spirit of hope as we are here together tonight.
We are deeply saddened by the verbal, written, and physical violence of the past days and by the perpetuation of fear. We believe our community can and should stand together in solidarity with all who experience bigotry, hatred, and marginalization. No one in our community should have to fear violence, exclusion, or persecution.
As we seek meaningful change and healing, let us honor the basic tenets of one another. Let us pray for understanding of the pain of others. Let us hear one another. Let us commit to creating real solutions that bring about a renewed and better college. Let us all, in solidarity, help build a more just and peaceful community.
Peace means we have to build bridges that are stronger than the bombs other people might throw.
Peace is our gift to each other. Eloise L.
To make peace, our hearts must be at peace with the world. Thich Nhat Hanh.
If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Mother Teresa.
Peace is not merely a distant goal that we see, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the Black Student Union students, the staff and faculty, allies, all who came together to support one another, not just this past weekend, but through the weeks coming up to today. I've been saddened and angered about the hateful acts that have been happening not only to our campuses, to our own campus, but campuses throughout the country. Like many of you, I can't help but think, who did this? Who's to blame? Who do I now trust? What can I do? At every new student orientation held here at this chapel, I've shared that my own religious tradition has influenced my professional calling. It is what sustains me in this work every day and why I choose to do what I do. During these dark and difficult times, I need to do my best to be a person for others. This evening and the days and months to come, I ask that in whatever capacity that you can, to practice kindness, understanding, and be that person for others. I know that's hard, and I know many of you have already been doing that. I don't know what the road looks like for us, but I do know in my 4 years at Lewis and Clark College, I've grown to love and care for this campus and the people in it. And so I ask you to be that person of others, to help build up our community, to listen first, to practice kindness and understanding. I now would like to invite President Barry Glassner to share a few words with us this evening.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I've chosen a reading this evening. On August 16th, 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. addressed the annual convention of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He took as his theme that morning the question, where do we go from here? These are excerpts from his remarks. I have decided to stick with love, for I know that love is ultimately the only answer to mankind's problems, and I'm going to talk about it everywhere I go. I know it isn't popular to talk about it in some circles these days, and I'm not talking about emotional bosh when I talk about love. I'm talking about a strong, demanding love. For I have seen too much hate. I have decided to love. If you are seeking the highest good, I think you can find it through love. What I'm trying to get you to see this morning is that a man may be self-centered in his self-denial and self-righteous in his self-sacrifice. His generosity may feed his ego, and his piety may feed his pride. So without love, benevolence becomes egotism, and martyrdom becomes spiritual pride. As we talk about where do we go from here, we must honestly face the fact that the movement must address itself to the question of restructuring the whole of American society. And I must confess, my friends, that the road ahead will not always be smooth. There will be rocky places of frustration. There will be meandering points of bewilderment. There will be inevitable setbacks. And there will be those moments when the buoyancy of hope will be transformed into the fatigue of despair. Our dreams will sometimes be shattered and our ethereal hopes blasted. But difficult and painful as it is, we must walk on in the days ahead with an audacious faith in the future.
Capella Nova will be singing a song called We Are by the great composer Issei Barnwell of Sweet Honey in the Rock.
Each child that's born alone
Thank you all for that music. We're going to do a brief meditation now, and I invite you to participate. If this doesn't work for you for any reason, feel free to just tune out my voice for a few minutes. It won't last very long. But if you're interested, we're going to start by going within, and I invite you to close your eyes if that works for you. Just notice your breath for a minute. How are you doing right now? Is your breath shallow or deep? Fast or slow? Just notice. Notice how you're doing in your body, too. Any particular sensations catch your attention? Maybe you notice places of tension or pain. Feelings of warmth or coolness. Maybe you notice tingling, or a sense of calm. No need to judge or analyze, just notice. I invite you to also notice your thoughts. Just observing what thoughts tend to be in your mind in this moment. Letting them pass. Perhaps they're replaced by another thought that comes shortly after. You're also invited to observe your emotions. What particular feelings might be arising for you in this moment? Doing our best to not judge, but just allowing whatever's there to be there and to notice. And you're invited to return to a focus on your body, specifically the chest area and the location of our hearts. Just connect for a moment to your heart center. And if it fits for you to repeat the following phrases silently, you're invited to do so. May we be filled with loving kindness for ourselves. May we be filled with loving kindness for ourselves. May we be filled with loving kindness for our near and dear ones. May we be filled with loving kindness for our near and dear ones. May we be filled with loving kindness for all in our community. May we be filled with loving kindness for all in our community. I invite you to slowly return your awareness to the room. Feel where you're sitting. Feel your feet on the floor. Perhaps move your toes and hands. And slowly open your eyes.
Good evening. I'm Joshua, and on behalf of Mystical Groves, I'll be reading a prayer for peace in the new millennium. Make me aware of my own prejudices. Shine a light upon any forms of violence in thought, word, or deed in which I am engaging. Grow in me the seeds of nonviolence. Teach me in the ways of peacemaking. Show me daily how I can do my part to fulfill humanity's dream of peace on earth. Through the growing practice of nonviolence, I stand firmly in my belief that it is truly possible for all people to live in freedom, justice, and plenty.
Good evening. My name is Rachel.
My name is Sari.
On behalf of Hillel, we will be reading
A Prayer for Healing by Debbie Friedman. Misha berach avatenu mikor habracha li'imotenu.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen.
Misha berach imotenu mikor habracha la'avotenu.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
My name is Jaemin, and as a member of the Buddhist group on campus, I'll be reading verses of dedication from Engaging in the Deeds of a Bodhisattvas by Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May the frightened cease to be afraid. May those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space endures, and as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan. On behalf of LC University, I'll be reading a prayer from Desmond Tutu. O God, All Holy One, you are our mother and our father, and we are your children. Open our eyes and our hearts so that we may be able to discern your work in the universe, and we may be able to see your features in every one of your children. May we learn that there are many paths, but all lead to you. Help us to know that you have created us for family, for togetherness, for peace, for gentleness, for compassion, for sharing, for caring. May we know that you want us to care for one another as those who know that they are sisters and brothers, members of the same family. Your family, the human family. Help us to beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks, so that we may be able to live in peace and harmony, wiping away the tears from the eyes of those who are less fortunate than ourselves. May we know war no more, as we strive to be what you want us to be, your children. Amen.
Now we're going to be lighting some candles in unity with one another. So I invite you to put your hands out in front of you and put your right hand palm up and hold hands with the people next to you. If you need to move closer together to do that, that's fine. This is symbolic so that on one side you are holding someone up and on the other side someone is holding you up. And we invite the people on the ends of the pews to come forward and light candles symbolically for your entire row.
Don't be shy. Please come up and light a candle. This is symbolic. By being here together, we have brought more life and light into this campus. And there are some more candles up here that need to be lighted. So I'd invite you after it's over, if you'd like to come forward and light a candle, please do so.
Good evening. My name is Hillary Martin Hyman.
And I'm Rachel Green, and we're part of the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life.
We have a closing litany, And there is a phrase, a response that we will be inviting you all to say. The phrase is, we lift up our hearts and voices in hope. And I was wondering if we could practice it now before we begin our litany. So again, it's we lift our hearts and voices in hope. Thank you. We will be cueing you with my arm.
For the potential for good in every single person we know, for the capacity that we all have to live, grow, heal, and forgive, for the desire and longing of our hearts to work towards wholeness and peace. For these, we lift up our hearts and voices in hope.
For all who confront uncertainty, fear, confusion, and oppression. For all the acts of kindness, goodness, and support offered to one another. For those who stand beside one another with courage and compassion. For these, we lift up our hearts and voices in hope.
For the vision to seek after soulfulness in a deep unity of all things. For the capacity to build bridges with people of all races and creeds. For the openness to walk humbly with others in the ways of peace and justice. For these, we lift up our hearts and voices in hope.
Go in peace.
So this does conclude our time together this evening. You're welcome to stay. As I mentioned, you're welcome to go and light a candle if you didn't get a chance to do that. And I hope that some of the symbolism that we've shared, some of the words, the presence of being together, the holding up and being held up by each other will remind us that we indeed can prevail through whatever we face, that there is hope, and that there's a potential for peace, both inner and outward peace in our midst. So we thank you so much for being here. I wish I could say this was going to fix things, but we know it won't. It will be a beginning, and we've already had many beginnings, and I think the road ahead is long, and perhaps, as Barry said in his reading from Dr. King, there are many struggles that we'll face, but today we face them together, and tomorrow we face them together. And this is symbolic and important because we can't do it without each other. So thank you so much for coming. This is such an opportunity for us to be reminded that we can do this if we do it together. So peace and blessings to each one of you.